Good morning. Now you can hear me. And welcome to the Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation. It is so good to be together with you here in person and online. Hello, online people. My name is Jeffrey Jacoby, and I am today's worship assistant. If you're joining us for the first time this morning, welcome. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life journey, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, wherever you were born, whatever language you speak, you are welcome here. Whatever your skin color, whatever your class background, whatever your range of abilities, you are welcome here. We are so glad that you chose our congregation as your place of worship this morning. We come together for worship in order to slow down and listen for the callings of our hearts, our spirits. We come together for worship so that we can be reminded of our highest aspirations and continue to transform ourselves into our best selves. And now we pause to light our chalice as a symbol of our shared Unitarian Universalism faith. Laura Raven and Xander Raven will help us today with the chalice lighting. Thank you.
As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day to form a yellow daffodil, let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space.
Thank you, Laura and Xander. Today we are pleased to announce that we have a guest speaker, our very own Douglas Futch, who currently serves as the Vice President of the Emerson Board of Trustees as our speaker today. Douglas and his husband, Michael Lukens, joined Emerson in August 2023 and quickly became active participants in our community. We open today's service with this story attributed to Stephen R. Covey. On a relaxed Sunday morning, people were riding the New York City subway train going to their next destination. The few passengers aboard were either reading the morning paper or dozing in their chairs. It was a quiet, almost somnolent ride through the bowels of the Big Apple. The train stopped as it reached a station, and a man accompanied by several small children came on board. After a flutter of passengers going on and off the train, the doors slowly clamped shut as the train began its move to the next station. In less than a minute, chaos broke out. While the man who had just gotten on board was sitting down in one of the train seats, his kids ran up and down the aisle, shouting, screaming, and wrestling with one another on the floor. The silence on board the train disappeared, only to be replaced by the children's loud and messy cries. The father made no attempt to intervene. 10 minutes passed, and some of the elderly passengers shifted nervously. Many who were originally dozing were now awake due to the noise of the children, and many turned their eyes toward the direction of the noise and gazed angrily at the man, their minds filled with thoughts of anger and frustration. Why isn't he doing something to keep his kids quiet? What a poorly brought up family. These kids are horrible. This is so annoying. Why can't they get into another carriage? Should I move to another carriage? A common thread that crossed every passenger's mind was this: surely the father would do something to restore order, a gentle word of correction, a stern command, some expression of paternal authority, anything. However, nothing took place. Finally, A well-dressed businessman with a bowler hat could not take it any longer. He walked up to the father, grabbing hold of the collars of his jacket, and shouted angrily at him, "Sir, do something about your kids. Put them in order right now." The father looked up slowly at the man and replied slowly, in broken words, "I know I should do something. It's just, we just came back from the hospital. Their mother died an hour ago. I just don't know what to do." And as the father said these words, small drops of wet tears began to fall from his eyes that were beginning to swell and grow watery. The businessman, stunned by the father's response, released his grip and apologized to go back in the seat. In that moment, the whole carriage's atmosphere shifted from one of anger and frustration to one of deep compassion and empathy.
Good morning, everyone. How is your Hindi? So if we could get our slide up for our opening hymn. This morning, our opening hymn is not a hymn at all. It's a kirtan chant. So the youth are going to be experiencing a celebration of Holi, which is a Hindu festival, a celebration of colors. Our kirtan chant is an adoration of Shiva, who represents the overall big boss of the Hindu gods. And our mantra today is all about celebrating the birth of spring, which we really got a good wake-up call last night for the birth of spring. Thank you for coming in, even though you might be a little tired. So mantras can either have literal meaning or no meaning. And they're wonderful because you can hook into the meaning or the feeling of the actual sounds you're making. So for instance, Na represents earth, Ma represents water, Si represents fire, Va, pranic air, energy, Ya is the sky or ether. So before we start, can you see the words? On a scale of 1 to 5, how nervous are you? 1, oh, thank you. So what we're going to do is we're going to sing part 1, we're going to chant it, then we're going to move to part 2, and on to part 3. We will never return to part 1. We will then go 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. We're going to end up on 3, repeating it over and over and over. We start out nice and slow, and we build with intensity. I would suggest if you feel compelled to move as the thing gets moving, move, clap, whatever you'd like to do. If you feel like you do not have the pronunciation of these words exactly right, you're probably right. So do your best. Follow me. We start out slow so you get a chance to get going on it, all right? So come on up. Come on. Sorry about that. And thank our Mojo kids and our Mo musicians for creating this for us. I will sing the first line, and then you repeat this. Every line is sung twice. I sing it, you respond. Om Namah Shivaya. You consider stand. Om Namah Shivaya. You chant. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Nama Om. You chant. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Nama Om. Shambho Shankara Nama Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Nama Shivaya. Jiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. You chant. Jiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Part 3. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Back to part 2. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. You chant Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Part 3. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. You sing. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Part 2. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Oh Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. You chant Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shivaya. Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Last time. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shiriya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om 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 Namah Shivaya.
Well, thank you very much, Mojos, for helping with that song and for the Mo's. That was a lot of fun. And now it's time for joys, sorrows, and concerns. Now we pause and reflect on matters of the heart. And Xander, would you help me place the stones? Thank you. For this morning's ritual, we have water and we have river stones. The stones are smooth and the stones have weight. They're indicative of both life's pleasures and times of ease, as well as life's burdens and times of heaviness. The water receives these stones with ease and calmness. Each week you're invited to write a joy, sorrow, or concern in this book, or you can email it to pastoralcare@emersonuu.org, and it will be read. If you're online, we invite you to recreate this at home. You place a stone in a bowl of water to honor what is in your heart. We begin by placing 3 stones. 1, in honor of the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of indigenous peoples who lived here before us. And 2, for those wrongly enslaved here who labored on this land. And 1 more, for all those hurting in current conflicts and wars that rage across our globe within our community. And today we share these From Ali Tomic, I have a sorrow about my cat Hercules. He is on kidney failure. He is 14 and he is my best friend. So sorry. And from Kelly Baldwin, our family is very excited to be celebrating Sarah's birthday today. Happy birthday, Sarah. Yay. And from Satya Grace Cascade, change happens. My school, where I thought I'd teach for 20 years, is closing after this year. Yet I have a joy to share. I will be teaching first grade at a wonderful new school. It feels good to be valued and wanted. And income. That's good too. Thank you. Okay, and then let's go ahead and please place one more stone for anybody who has any thoughts or joys, sorrows, concerns that you didn't end up sharing today that you might have and be holding in your heart today. And now, in thankful awareness, let's say the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. Please read the words with me. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. May we all be at peace. Blessed be. One way we put our prayer of loving kindness into action is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. Our Share the Basket partner for March is the Must Ministries breakfast program for Hope House clients in Marietta. Because the number of unhoused people has risen and because food is more expensive, we have chosen a 5-Sunday month in hopes that we can raise enough funds for this year. Must Ministries serves breakfast daily for clients at the Must Hope House in Marietta. Emerson volunteers cook and serve breakfast once a month, every second Monday, plus Thanksgiving and Christmas. Bringing the groceries and starting cooking at 5:30 a.m. to serve by 6:30, we plan for 75 breakfasts and, when possible, have an additional 30 for those waiting outside. Please let Mark Cobb know if you would like to help with this program. Our partnership with Must Ministries to fight food insecurity is a great way to serve our community. Please give generously to keep these programs going. The basket will now be passed. For those in the sanctuary, as it's passed, please feel free to offer a donation or see a card in the basket for other ways to give. And as a lot of you also know, there are lollipops in the basket. If you want one of those, help yourself. They're for everybody. And for those online, go to emersonuu.org and select the Giving tab to donate. All donations, unless otherwise specified, are shared equally between Emerson and our partner organization.
right, can you hear me? Oh, you can. All right, good morning. Can I have the young and the young at heart come join me for a story for all ages? Come sit down here. Come on, you guys. Just slide onto the floor. It's all good. You're gonna sit here? All right. Today, as you know, is a special day in Hindu religion, and it's called Holi. And can you not hear me? Better? Are you better? So it's also a time when you welcome spring. Kind of like the pagans have the spring solstice and they celebrate spring, many religions and cultures across the world celebrate spring because it's an exciting time. We're getting warm again, sun shines out. So today, we're going to read a story called Holi High. But before we do that, I want to show you a few things, give you some knowledge. And I want to say, if anyone speaks Hindi in here, I'm doing my best at the words. Promise. All right, so can I get the first slide 0 up? Can we get to slide 0? There it is. All right. So, in this story, there's some food that the family uses to celebrate, and I wanted to go over it with you. So you might see Dali Bala up there, and that's right on this side in the middle. And that is a round, hollow, deep-fried crepe filled with spicy potatoes and dipped in mint and tamarind water. Sounds good, huh? Right? So Gija, if I can say that right, is over on, let's see, Gija is top left. All right, it is a deep fried dumpling filled with a mixture of milk solids, which would be like cheese and stuff like that, raisins and chopped nuts like cashews. I know, lots of people like raisins, right? So then you also will see paranthas, which is up on the top, this side, right? It is an Indian flatbread made from wheat flour called atta. And then you'll see the word up there, pulao, which is right there in the bottom. And it is a rice cooked with raisins and spices like saffron, cardamom. And then over there in the middle, you see tendai. It's a cold drink made with almond milk. So, all right, on with our story. All right. Holi High. All right. The moon was round and almost full. 2 more sleeps till Holi, said Garai. 1 and 2, counted Anish. There we go. The next morning, Grandma held out a bowl full of colored paper. Gather round, let's pick glal to make. What is glal, Grandma? Asked Gowrie. All the colors we will splash and smear on Holi Day, Grandma replied, to celebrate spring. We're going to make them from nature, said Dad, from leaves, spices, and flowers, finished Anish. Everyone closed their eyes, and they pulled out a colored paper from the bowl. Dad had blue, Mom grabbed green, Grandma picked saffron orange, Grandpa had purple, Anish got yellow, Garai got upset. I didn't get my favorite color, she yelled, scrunching the paper with her fist. I don't want to be red. I want yellow. Garai, all the colors are part of spring, said Mom. We'll keep the colors we picked. Everyone got busy making gulal except Garai. Dad boiled cabbage leaves to make blue. Want to give me a hand, he asked. Garai shook her head. No, she shouted. Mom spread mint and spinach leaves on the floor to dry. I'll grind them up to make green, she said. Would you like to help? But Garai didn't help Mom either. Yellow, shouted Anish. With turmeric, look. Grandma rubbed sandalwood on a stone to get saffron orange. It smells so nice, she said. Grandpa crushed beetroot into a bucket of water. This will make a nice purple, he said, but Garai didn't join in. That night, Dad started a bonfire. Grandpa told them of one of the legends of Holi. Holika was an evil demoness, but her nephew, Prahlada, wasn't evil. He loved everyone and didn't want to harm anyone. This angered Holikai, and she decided to teach Prahlada a lesson. Holikai started a blazing fire. "I'm so evil that the fire can't burn me," she gloated, extending her arms. "Come on, nephew. Let's see if your love can save you from the fire's blaze." That's not a very nice aunt, I'm just going to say. Was Prahlada scared? Asked Anish. Prahlada wasn't scared, said Grandpa. He wasn't even angry. He knew that love was stronger than his aunt's anger. Prahlada stepped into the fire with Holika. "Oh no," said Kari. "Don't worry," said Grandpa. A few minutes later, Prahlada walked out of the fire alone and unharmed. He had shown everyone that love was stronger than evil. "The fire is like the anger in Holika's heart," said Grandma. Anger didn't bring her joy. "When we celebrate Holi tomorrow, we will have love in our hearts for everyone," said Mom, just like Prahlada did. Garai thought about the anger in her heart. Could she let it go and be more like Prahlada? Coral red blooms gently flew away from the trees. The petals reminded Gara of all the red things she liked: apples, sunsets, ruby, and her famous necklace that gave Garai an idea. That evening, while everyone was busy, Garai gathered the coral red petals and spread them on a sheet of newspaper. Then she rolled Grandma's stone pedestal over them, crushing the petals into powder. The next morning, "Red!" cried Anish. "Garai's gall!" Grandma pulled Garai into a hug. "Red is the color of love," she said. "And apples and rubies and sunsets," said Garai. "And anger too. I'm sorry, I got upset." "I forgive your anger with my calming saffron," said Grandma, spreading sandalwood paste on Garai's cheeks. In the garden, they sprayed and splashed colors at one another: yellow, orange, blue, purple, green, and red. Then they drank cold tendai to quench their thirst. When it was time for lunch, a feast was spread on the table: parathas, pulao rice, galgupas, and dali balas. Grandma handed out the sweet gijiras she had made. "Today is the first day of spring," said Grandpa. "Time for new beginnings." "Today is a day of love," said Grandma. "All fights are forgotten." "Holi Hai!" called Garai. "Holi Hai!" wished everyone else. The end. And so today is a good day to start spring. Shall we sing our song of dedication? What is the doctrine of this church?
Good morning, y'all. How are you? Hope you're having a better day after the horrible storms last night. A little scary in some quarters. I hear Cobb County had some tornado warnings, so hopefully everyone passed through that unscathed. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Douglas Futch, and my pronouns are he, him, his. And as Jeffrey said, I currently serve as the Vice President on the Board of Trustees. On July 16th, 2023, I spoke from this pulpit for the first time. My talk then centered on concepts of the then first principle of Unitarian Universalism, the inherent worth and dignity of each person. I explained then that I was struggling with that concept since, quite frankly, there's a whole lot of people whose inherent worth and dignity I seriously question. People who think the only people who are people who look and think like them. I gave several examples of people who think the only people who are people who look and think like them don't understand the privilege that they have. I explained that privilege isn't about money. It's about access and being able to move into a space without having to worry about whether you're safe. I ended the talk with this sentence. I'm quoting myself here. If I want people to stop thinking that the only people who are people who look and think like them, then I feel a responsibility as a UU and as a human to model behavior showing that people who don't look or think like me are still people too. Well, I still believe that, but let's face it. A whole lot has happened in the world since then. Times have definitely changed because now the people who think the only people who are people who look and think like them are running the show. On January 20th, 2025, a presidential executive order entitled Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government stated in part, quote, "It is the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female. These are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental and incontrovertible reality." It went on to say, agencies shall remove all statements, policies, regulations, forms, communications, or other internal and external messages that promote or otherwise inculcate gender ideology, and shall cease issuing such statements, policies, regulation, forms, communications, or other messages. Agency forms that require an individual's sex shall list male or female and shall not request gender identity. Agencies shall take all necessary steps as permitted by law to end the federal funding of gender ideology. In a nutshell, the order erased any legal standing at the federal level for transgender individuals, including more than a few members of this very congregation. Also on January 20th, 2025, another presidential executive order entitled Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferences stated in part, the Biden administration forced illegal and immoral discrimination programs going by the name Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DEI, into virtually all aspects of the federal government in areas ranging from airline safety to the military. This was a concerted effort stemming from President Biden's first day in office. The order went on to say, quote, the Director of Office of Management and Budget, assisted by the Attorney General and the Director of the Office of Personnel Management, shall coordinate the termination of all discriminatory programs, including illegal DEI and diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility mandates, policies, programs, preferences, and activities in the federal government under whatever name they appear. In short, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility initiatives became illegal, both for agencies, federal agencies, and for any public or private entity who served as a federal contractor. On March 8, 2025, Mahmoud Khalil, a legal immigrant with a green card who was a student at New York's Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs, was arrested by the Department of Homeland Security agents because of his prominent role in pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia. Secretary of State Marco Rubio shared the news of Khalil's arrest on social media, adding the comment, quote, "We will be revoking the visas and or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported," end quote. Now I'm quoting Reuters, the news agency, quote, "The Department of Homeland Security said in a social media post that it had arrested Khalil because he had, quote, led activities aligned to Hamas," without elaborating. U.S. law forbids providing material support or resources to groups the U.S. has designated as terrorist organizations, including Hamas, the Palestinian nationalist Islamist group that governs Gaza and controls the territory's militant wing. That law does not, however, define or prohibit activities aligned to these groups, and the DHS spokespeople did not respond to questions about their accusation. Now, I am definitely not here today to debate Khalil's support of Hamas or whether it was right or wrong. I recognize that the Palestinian conflict is a highly sensitive issue with many divergent opinions. However, consider the 1977 landmark Supreme Court decision, National Socialist Party of America versus Village of Skokie. In this case, a Jewish attorney from the American Civil Liberties Union argued that freedom of speech protects all speech, even when that which we may find disagreeable. This decision secured the right for the Nazi Party to peacefully march through a predominantly Jewish neighborhood in Chicago. Similarly, protesters at Columbia University have the right to peaceful protest without fear of reprisal. In addition to Khalil's arrest, the federal government canceled $400 million in grants and contracts with Columbia University because the university didn't stop the protest. On top of these and many other attacks on civil liberties, we also have to worry about the environment. On March 12, 2025, the Environmental Protection Agency posted on their website a post called "EPA Launches Biggest Deregulatory Action in U.S. History." They list 31 regulations they claim are, quote, suffocating the American economy, including regulations on clean power plants, reconsideration of mercury and air toxins, motor vehicle emissions, and air quality standards. The EPA intends to re-examine and eliminate standards the Biden and Obama administrations put in place to help safeguard air and water and attempt to help combat climate change. We also have to worry about the health. The Food and Drug Administration has canceled all research for the upcoming flu vaccine, jeopardizing the ability to produce a vaccine for next year. This research is further hindered because the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention here in Atlanta relies heavily on the World Health Organization to determine which flu strains will be most prevalent. However, on January 22, 2025, the U.S. withdrew from the World Health Organization, complicating this process even more. This is just the tip of the iceberg of all the affronts on civil liberties, attacks on marginalized communities, the environment, and public health that have occurred since January 20th. As Unitarian Universalists, we embrace the inherent worth and dignity and proclaim our share of each person and proclaim our shared values of interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice centered on love. How in the heck do we keep going when the people who think the only people who are people who look and think like them are ripping those values apart at the seams? For decades, it felt like we were heading toward a world where everyone truly had a voice and where our UU values were the mainstream. Suddenly, it seems like everything we built over the past 70 years is unraveling at the speed of light. It seems like our government is being systematically dismantled. Sometimes it gets so overwhelming that I just want to be an ostrich and bury my head in the sand. Now, there are those who say it's not that bad, that I'm overreacting. When I express fears for the future that perhaps even my marriage may once again become illegal if the Supreme Court overturns the ruling that made it legal in the first place, or that my grandchildren won't have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, they say, oh, that won't happen. Well, that's what they said about Roe versus Wade, too. But here's what I have to say to that right now. It is that bad, and I'm not overreacting because it is happening. It's just not happening to you. To quote Reverend Christine Dance, the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix, when she spoke here at this pulpit at Reverend Christina's recent installation ceremony, quote, "Our government is failing us. Our social systems are failing us. There are more people needing help and fewer nets to catch them. And it is accelerating at a mind-blowing pace." The people who think the only people who are people who look and think like them are doing everything in their power to marginalize, perhaps even to humanize the rest of us. As Unitarian Universalists, we come from a long tradition of social activism. Sometimes I wish I could go back in time and speak to those who advocated for marginalized people in the past and ask them where they, in the face of seemingly overwhelming odds, found the strength to keep going. If you've never visited the National Center for Civil and Human Rights Museum here in Atlanta, you really should take the time to go. It's closed until the fall, but renovation and expansion, but when it reopens, it should be a must visit for every one of us. Inside the museum, there's a replica of a 1960 lunch counter. The exhibit allows you to sit at the counter and, using virtual and audio technology, experience a little bit of what it felt like to be a black person sitting at those lunch counters to protest whites-only policies. Every time I sit there, I wonder if I would have had the strength to have sat there for real, or would I have buried my head in the sand? As Unitarian Universalists, we don't have the luxury of burying our heads in the sand. However, just as the safety instructions on an airplane advise you to put on your own oxygen mask first before assisting others, we must also prioritize self-care to be most effective in our efforts. I have a friend who, when the world gets a little overwhelming, has a meditation room in his home where he goes to recharge. Further, he has decided there is just no way to combat every injustice perpetrated against marginalized communities these days. He just doesn't have the emotional or physical energy to be present at every protest, every meeting, on every topic. So he has selected one cause which, as he puts it, die on the hill for, and he will have to leave the other equally valid causes to others. He has a point. There's so much happening at such a mind-blowing pace that we need to be UU activists as much as possible, but also remember to take occasional breaks, like an ostrich, to rest and recharge. But what can we do to make a difference? The good news is that Emerson provides a safe space for us to regroup, to gather in community with others who have empathy for those around us. And we have a social justice team that is already connected in Cobb County, Cherokee County, and even throughout Georgia. Our Share the Basket partner organizations each champion causes that are under attack right now. But no matter how tempting it may seem, we cannot divorce ourselves from the people who think the only people who are people who look and think like them. Our UU shared values do not afford us the option of cutting them out of our lives altogether. We can't have interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice if we only invite people who think like us to the table. There is a reason that the UUA created the new shared values and centered them around love. Those shared values not only guide us in how we interact with each other and with other UUs, but they are also a guide for how we are to show up in the world. And to be honest, sometimes it is just as difficult as that first principle was for me, because there are a whole lot of people out there who I find decidedly unlovable. But if I turn my back on them the same way they're turning their back on me and others, am I not just doing the same thing that they're doing? Even though they are attempting to marginalize me, to live the shared values, I must still create space for them. Here's the kicker. We're not going to change people's opinions with facts, with data, or with diplomacy. To really change someone's heart, to help them understand what is really happening, we must create empathy. Merriam-Webster defines empathy as the action of understanding, being aware of, sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of another. The old saying, "You will never know until you walk in my shoes," is very powerful, and empathy must go both ways. As difficult as it may be to fathom, we must try to understand how each person got to where they are in life now, even if it's distasteful, unpleasant, or even horrific. Empathy is the key. Real empathy, not just on the surface, because there are a whole lot of people out there who will hug your neck and tell you they love you and still vote for people who don't. Building real empathy takes time and energy, and thankfully our shared values provide us with the framework to start building it. To be clear, as I said in my July 23 talk, I am not naive enough to think I can change people's hearts and minds overnight, perhaps ever. Those sincerely held religious beliefs are potent, powerful, pervasive, and many times so intractable that it may just be best to walk away. And lately, to be honest with you, it's getting more and more difficult to remember who I aspire to be when I really just want those people to evaporate. But running away, burying my head in the sand, will not solve anything, will not change anything. Empathy is the key. Human connection is the light of the future. Red has always been my favorite color. In the past too many years, the color has come to symbolize political and religious ideologies with which I vehemently disagree. And some people who choose red are those intractable people that will never find an ounce of empathy for anyone who doesn't look and think like them. But I was so encouraged by the story for all ages today. Red is the color of love. And love is at the center of our shared UU values. So perhaps it's time to reclaim red for the beautiful love that it is, represented for millennia. And as the spring equinox and this time of rebirth and renewal is upon us, let's cling to our hope for the future while we as activists in a time of almost dystopian hatred fight for a world filled with love and empathy. I've spoken before about how heavily I was influenced by celebrity activists in the 1970s. Some of them are still here today, inspiring me even more. On February 23rd of this year, Jane Fonda received the Screen Actors Guild Lifetime Achievement Award. Her acceptance speech in part sums up what I'm trying to say here, so I'll close with her words. Quote, "Make no mistake, empathy is not weak or woke. And by the way, woke just means you give a damn about other people." I'm still quoting Jane here. She continues, "Have any of you ever watched a documentary of one of the great social movements like apartheid or our civil rights movement or Stonewall and asked yourself, would you have been brave enough to walk the bridge? Would you have been able to take the hoses and the batons and the dogs? We don't have to wonder anymore because we are in our documentary moment. This is it, and it is not a rehearsal. This is it, and we mustn't for a moment kid ourselves about what's happening. This is big time serious, folks, so let's be brave. This is a good time for little Norma Ray or Karen Silkwood or Tom Joad. We must not isolate. We must stay in community. We must help the vulnerable. We must find ways to project an inspiring vision of our future, one that is beckoning, welcoming, that will help people believe that, to quote the novelist Pearl Cleage, on the other side of the conflagration, there will still be love, there will still be beauty, and there will be an ocean of truth for us to swim in. Let's make it so."
Thank you, Douglas. That was a very powerful message. We appreciate it very much. And now for our closing hymn. So please rise in body or in holy place.
Empathy is the key. Human connection is the light of the future. Emerson is our safe haven, a beloved community, and as Reverend Christine Dance reminded us at Reverend Christina's installation, we have been practicing for this moment for a long time. Last week, we kicked off our annual stewardship campaign. Many of you have been giving to Emerson for years, but with all the growth we've experienced this year, many of you are being asked for the first time to support this beloved community. Whoever you are, from whatever circumstances you may come, and whatever your financial situation, we ask you to consider what your life would be without Emerson, without our beloved community. Our beloved community that supports and sustains us and provides a safe space where we can regroup and recharge, that provides a place where our children can learn how to show up in the world. We depend on our members and friends to support us in 3 ways: talent, time, and treasure. We're doing really well on the first 2, but we could use a little more treasure as well. So please, if you haven't already submitted your pledge for the upcoming year, do so as soon as possible so that we can plan next year's budget. You can see Claudia Hebert, she's raising her hand up there. She has packets for you. And also, if you've already submitted your pledge, you need to make sure to do the gift part, and I believe there are instructions on the back of the order of service for that today. As you consider your pledge for the upcoming year, just reach a little bit deeper if you can. The reality is that 15 families provide approximately half of our annual budget. We recognize that not everyone is in the same financial position to give as generously, but we hope all of you will consider a pledge that will help sustain our beloved community and help it continue to grow. Empathy is the key, and when our heart is in a holy place, we'll hear the voices, and hopefully we can spread the love from Unitarian Universalism into the rest of our community.
And now for our chalice extinguishing, would Laura and Xander please join us again?
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment.
Thank you, Laura and Xander. Just a couple of quick announcements. Make sure you save the date next month in April. It's actually one month to the date today, April 16th. Our next Waldo's Coffee House will happen right here in the sanctuary, Saturday, April 16th, and will feature the Mo, which is the musicians of Emerson, some of which you heard during the anthem today. It's a group of musicians who all go to Emerson, led by our fantastic musical coordinator, Bruce King. That's next month, so please join us for a very special night of music, and there will be dancing as well. Alex will be doing a dance for us also. And then in 2 weeks, Reverend Christina will return to the pulpit, and please join us again next week when we have our guest speaker, E.N. Hill, with their message, Let It Shine. And before I close us out, I believe Michael Lukens has an announcement. Oh, there he is.
Morning. Just a quick reminder for all the RE families here today. Our fellowship time will be upstairs. We're all set up for you, so remember to go upstairs.
Thank you for joining us today, and go in peace, and take peace wherever you go. holy place.